It's 2018 and games are not exactly getting cheaper. With $30 season passes and $100 collector's editions, a lot of gamers are worried about how much bang they get for their buck, and who could blame them? More and more publishers are satisfied with pumping out half-baked games as long as they have functioning microtransaction systems. Of course, for single-player games we can always just Google up the average time it takes to beat the bloody thing, possibly wait for a sale and get a great value for our money. But when it comes to multiplayer games, that question is a bit more difficult to answer. When back in the day, multiplayer modes were tagged on to check another box for the marketing department, now it's kind of the other way around. Sure, EA wants you to believe that the demand for single-player content is declining, but developers along the lines of Bethesda and CD Projekt Red keep proving those guys wrong. Anyway, not taking single-player content into account, how much bang does each of our bucks provide in a number of modern multiplayer games? Especially given that games as services are so popular these days. Maybe some of us feel better knowing that these loot boxes we keep buying support a game that gives us a great ratio of time invested versus entertainment received. That is the question that I sought out to answer today. But before we do that, a couple of disclaimers. In this video, we are working with averages that I've taken from my own time playing those games. Furthermore, I have only included games that I've actually played myself, and that for very good reason. When talking about making the best investment, it does not only come down to how much volume of entertainment you get, but what level of quality this type of entertainment provides. There are always up and downsides in these kinds of stories, and context is extraordinarily important, so hang on tight and don't jump the gun too early. So in the name of context itself, let's talk about the total amount of time I have spent in these games that we are taking a look at today to figure out if I got a good deal for my money. On the chopping block today, we got Overwatch, Dirty Bomb, Rainbow Six Siege, as well as Battlefield 1. And before you stop me, yes, I know that Dirty Bomb is free to play, but that did not stop me from pumping huge amounts of money into it. And it is a game that I still play every so often to this date, as are all the other games on this list, so it still qualifies for our subject today. Taking a look at Overwatch, we are clocking in at 442 hours, but we also have to consider that I own two alt accounts, which add another 147 and 17 hours respectively, bringing us to a grand total of 633 hours spent in Overwatch. If you think that's a lot, then you have not seen Dirty Bomb with an astonishing 914 hours. Rainbow Six Siege and Battlefield 1 almost look puny by comparison, only bring 195 and 117 hours to the party. It looks like it's an easy way from here at least. Simply divide the retail value of those games by the total amount of time played, and of course it's not that simple. You see, while those games are trying to tell us that we have spent that much time playing, it gracefully ignores the fact that a good portion of that time is spent, well, not playing the game. Every time we click on the play button, our time starts ticking according to the game's launchers. Putting idle times aside, let's assume that whenever I start up a game, I went straight into a match without any delay. Even if I do that, I still have downtimes consisting of the time I spent in matchmaking queues. So those 914 hours might sound like a lot, but this is not the total amount of time we have actually spent playing. It's only how long we had the games open for. So let's establish a baseline that we can work with. A round of casual Overwatch takes 5 to 10 minutes, so let's meet in the middle and sell for 7.5 minutes. If we agree to 3 minutes spent in queue between matches on average, then that leaves us with a total investment of 10.5 minutes to queue up and play a single round of quick play in Overwatch. Applying that to other games as well, we got Dirty Bomb with an average 15 minutes casual match duration and another 3 minutes in queue, giving us a total of 18 minutes invested per match. For Rainbow Six Siege, between 15 to 20 minutes, let's sell for an average of 17.5 minutes casual match duration and 2-minute queue time, giving us 19.5 minutes total. And lastly, Battlefield 1, basing this off a 25-minute estimated match duration for Conquest and another 2-minute queue time for those who don't use the server browser, leaving us with a 27-minute investment for a single match. Using these estimates as our average baseline, again, I can't reinforce enough that these are only estimated averages based on my own playtime. We can now easily figure out roughly how much time we have spent actually playing the game, and we can then use those results to find out just how much money we invested per hour of gameplay. Let's propose that gamers sit down for an average of 3 hours at a time to play any of those games. With a 10.5 minute investment per match in Overwatch, we can cram 17 matches into these 3 hours or 180 minutes. minutes. Dirty Bomb graces us with only 10 matches, 9.23 for Rainbow Six Siege, and only 6.66 matches can be crammed into 3 hours when playing Conquest in Battlefield 1. And it's but a walk in the park for the rest. Multiply the amount of matches we can play per 3 hours by the actual amount of time we have estimated for a single match to take without the queue time, and we already got our results. In Battlefield 1, only 13.32 minutes out of 3 hours are spent in queues, giving us a whopping 2.77 hours of actual game time. Not quite as impressive, but still really decent. Rainbow Six Siege has us waiting in queue for about 18.5 minutes, leaving the other 2.69 hours to us actually playing. In Dirty Bomb, we average out at 30 minutes in queue and 2.5 hours of actual game time. And the biggest offender of actually wasting our time is Overwatch. With only 2.13 hours of game time, we are left staring at a circle for a whopping 51.3 minutes. That means that you only spend 71% of your time in Overwatch actually playing the game. Where Dirty Bomb and Rainbow Six Siege give you a more gracious 83 and 89%, Battlefield giving us the best value at 92%. So how much time did I waste exactly by just waiting out queue times given the total hours played we established earlier? If only 71% of our 633 hours in Overwatch were actually spent playing, that means that we were sitting in queues for a whopping 183.57 hours. Almost 200 hours just sitting around doing nothing. Dirty Bomb with its 83% and 914 total hours gives us only 155.38 hours down the drain, while Rainbow Six Siege is limited to about 20 out of 195 hours wasted, and Battlefield 1 cost us only 8.77 out of 117 hours in loading screens. Now, to figure out how much I paid for the actual amount of time spent playing, we have to figure out how much money I actually spend on these games, and this is where we get into very dangerous territory, at least for my own sanity, that is. Getting a good estimate for Overwatch is not too difficult. I've bought the base game once for 40 euros, and another 2 copies from my old account selling at 25 bucks a pop on sale, and we have a 90 euro investment in physical copies alone. But we also have to factor in loot boxes. Now, given that for the first year of events I've bought loot boxes for every single event and always spent at least $39.99, and the fact that there were 6 events, we can conclude that I have wasted a grand total of at least 329 euros and 94 cents on Overwatch. That's over $400. I hate to say it, but it gets worse. Now, Dirty Bomb may be free to play, but I've spent disgusting amounts of money on this game. Sadly, there's no way for me to go back and actually get a good estimate, which means that we'll have to work with something along the lines of wild speculation. If my memory is to be trusted, I dare say that I have at least spent twice as much on Dirty Bomb as I've spent on Overwatch, but since I cannot tell for sure, let's work with a conservative estimate of about 500 euros or just shy of $610. Rainbow Six Siege has seen 50 bucks from me at launch, as well as 2 season pass purchases for 30 bucks each, so I have invested 110 euros or $134. Battlefield has cost me 60 bucks at launch with a season pass for 15 bucks, which I picked up later down the line on sale. So here we got 75 euros or $91. Completely ignoring the fact that I've spent over $1,200 on 4 video games and their season pass loot box nonsense alone, let's see how our dollar per hour of gameplay investment looks like. That's honestly not as bad as I thought. I mean, granted, this is the price that I thought I was paying based on what the games told me, but if we take a look at our actual game time figures and calculate the dollar per hour average, it does not look like a lot, with figures increasing about 10 cents per hour, but you have to consider that we are talking about total amounts of sub $1. So jumping from 52 to 73 cents in Overwatch is actually a big deal. In fact, it is a deal as big as 40%. I am getting 40% less value out of my money than I thought, according to what the games told me at least. 20% less in Dirty Bomb, 16% less value in Siege, and only 7.8% less value in Battlefield 1. That's a quick matchmaker on the PC, let me tell you. Now obviously, nobody's really marketing their games that way. Nobody claims that you're getting a certain dollar per hour value out of any given game. It's just interesting to see how that stacks up. I mean, it would have made my life way easier if the games just told me how much of my game time is actually spent playing. It would have made this entire video so much easier and more convenient to me. You gotta be kidding me. Now granted, I could have just went and checked that before I spent hours of mine and Brandon's life trying to calculate all this stuff, and also before I wasted like 10 minutes of your life with results that we can't use after all. But it is fine because we can use those numbers to see how close we were with our estimates. For Dirty Bomb, we estimated 758 hours of actual game time, based on an average of 15 minutes match duration and 3 minutes sitting in queue, and we were actually reasonably close. Now I know that a margin of 100 hours looks like a lot, but it makes sense. Remember, we only factored in actual game time and queue times. There are a few things that, with 914 hours total, really add up in Dirty Bomb. For example, the case opening animation. You get these cases all the time and they didn't used to have a skip button. And given that I spent approximately $500 on cases alone, it is fair to assume that many hours were spent just opening them. Not to mention that I used to make videos about this game, so just sitting in the menu or recording myself open these cases and talk about what I got, all of that certainly adds up. Especially if you factor in idle times where I just left the computer and had the game still running. So we are actually really close with our estimate. Now if we fix our calculations, we end up with 75 cents per hour paid in Dirty Bomb, which puts us roughly 20% above our previous estimate. That comes to show how much these little things add up and how much they matter when calculating things like that. Doing the same for Rainbow Six Siege, we're seeing a much bigger difference. With 116 hours played combining both PvP and PvE, we've spent 94 cents per hour in Siege. That's over $1 per hour played, giving us a 51% increase in cost from our previous calculations. Overwatch, on the other hand, begs for a bit of a different approach, because according to their recorded statistics, the only time presented to us is the actual amount of time spent in matches. They don't count queue times or even the downtime between rounds, which means that our initial 633 hours is actually pretty accurate, and the 40% increase in cost that we calculated earlier really did not happen. It does, however, mean that we have to add the 29% queue time to the total of 633 hours because the game did not add it themselves, meaning that we have spent a total of 816 hours in the game, and that's not even considering hero selection time and waiting for the bloody round to start. It really doesn't matter in our calculation of finding out how much money we spent per hour of gameplay, but consider that next time you look at your playtime. You can add at least 30% on top of what the game tells you if you want to know how much time you actually spent in Overwatch. So we can conclude that not everything is as obvious as it seems. If you only have enough time to squeeze a match or two into your schedule, Overwatch would obviously be the best choice given their short queue times and short match duration. But if you're looking for the best investment when it comes to a session per session basis, taking a 3-hour average duration into account, Battlefield 1 would give you the best bang for your buck in most of its game modes, while Dirty Bomb and Siege are not that far behind. Naturally, I assume that most people did not spend anywhere near as much money on cosmetics as me. The less money you spend and the more time you play, the better the ratio becomes. But it comes to show how tempting those microtransactions can be once you are invested in the game. Overwatch, for example, which really does not have any progression besides gathering cosmetics and ranking up, really tempts you with their offering of unique skins that only come in randomized boxes. Dirty Bomb, as a free-to-play game that I would still praise for its gameplay to date, in a typical free-to-play fashion tempts you to spend money at many occasions, including items that I honestly don't believe should exist in the first place. And given that their cosmetic system is also randomized, as well as the fact that the easier obtainable cosmetics often look far worse than the higher rarity ones, you got a good indication for how easily those games can tempt you, especially with being free. The fact that I've spent the least amount of money on Siege and BF1 comes down to my lack of appreciation for their cosmetic items. They do feature microtransactions, but to me, they just did not look anywhere near appealing enough to ever spend money on them, leaving me only with season pass purchases to unlock all of their content, which is annoying enough as is. Though to be fair, I only bought the season passes for Rainbow Six Siege because I actually really liked the game and wanted to support it. I could have unlocked all the operators even without it if I cared to. Bottom line for this video is that it was just something I decided to do for the heck of it. If you were to seriously try to solve something like that, you need way more hard numbers rather than just estimates. Not to mention that all of our estimates were based off of casual play in Overwatch, Dirty Bomb, and Rainbow Six Siege. And in the case of Rainbow Six, we could already see that I should have based my calculations off of a mix of ranked and casual rather than going for a purely casual play driven estimate. Ranked matches in all these games can add up to way more actual game time, resulting in less downtime per session, and obviously Battlefield 1 has the operations game mode which can keep you busy for upwards of an hour at a time. If you were sticking around for the entire video up until now, I just want to say thank you. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what kind of path I want to approach in 2018, and I knew that Overwatch alone was halting my progress as a creator. I've done that mistake twice now where I solely focus on a single game and it just really burns me out creatively. I like sitting down to talk about more things than just which hero is currently broken, you know? I love of game trivia, overanalyzation, and discussions surrounding the gaming industry as a whole rather than a single game. Ideally, I'd love to be somewhere between Downward Thrust and Game Theory, both channels that I honestly love watching. I don't want to be limited to only be allowed to talk about Overwatch, and I want to be able to express myself more creatively. I also don't believe that there needs to be a point to every single video. Some of them can just be, what do they call it, infotainment? Honestly, when I sit down to watch videos, I don't even touch a lot of the news channels out there. I just want to be entertained and I want to pass some time. So I hope that I can deliver as a creator on what I enjoy consuming as a viewer. But hey, let me know what you thought about this video or this kind of format in general. It is bound to not be anywhere near as popular as a video that's strictly about Overwatch, I know that, and I don't blame anyone who signed up for Overwatch to want to unsubscribe. After all, that is what you came here for. I just hope that within the next couple of months I can convince you guys that I am more versatile than that, showing you that I can make hopefully interesting videos on more topics than just that one game. But this is me done for the day, so thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.